Greenland is an icy prize that superpowers are fighting over. Greenland is an icy fortress closely watched by the world's giants. It is where the interests of military alliances, economic empires, and geopolitical strategies intersect. As its ice melts, the struggle for control of this strategic region is heating up. Who will make the first move? Who will seize the key to the future? The answer to this question will decide the fate of not only Greenland, but the entire world. Unveiling the hidden systems of Thule Air Base. Hidden among Greenland's icy expanses, Thule Air Base is not just a military outpost, it is a critical component of the U.S. global security system. In this realm of eternal frost, some of the world's most powerful and advanced radar systems operate around the clock, constantly scanning for potential threats. The base's greatest pride is the BMEWS, Ballistic Missile Early Warning System, a network of radars designed to detect ballistic missile launches. This system can identify an intercontinental missile launch from up to 3,000 miles away and instantly relay the signal to the U.S. Air Force Command Center and the Pentagon. In the event of a nuclear threat, response scenarios are executed within seconds, making Thule not just an Arctic outpost, but one of America's first lines of defense. Thule also hosts a powerful radar network that monitors aerial and space-based threats. These systems track enemy aircraft and drones, satellite trajectories, including potential spy satellites, and even falling space debris, such as satellite fragments or meteors. At the same time, an extensive surface and underwater surveillance system monitors submarine and warship movements in Arctic waters. As Russia and China expand their presence in the region, this capability is becoming increasingly crucial. Beyond its radar defenses, Thule is also a strategic airfield. The base hosts B-52 Stratofortress bombers, legendary heavyweights of the U.S. Air Force. These aircraft can carry both conventional and nuclear warheads and can remain airborne for over 20 hours without refueling. In a crisis, B-52s can be launched within minutes, making Thule a potential retaliatory strike point in the event of a global threat. Thule Air Base is strictly off-limits to outsiders, and much of its true capabilities remain classified. It is known that around 600 military personnel and specialists are stationed here at all times, with reinforcements available in case of an emergency. Some elements of its infrastructure are unknown even to U.S. allies, but one thing is clear. This Arctic bastion plays a key role in the strategic defense of America and its partners. Greenland's hidden economic power. Greenland is not just a frozen island. It is a vault of strategically vital resources, sparking a growing rivalry among global powers. Rare earth metals, the lifeblood of high-tech industries. In the digital age of electric vehicles and advanced technology, rare earth metals have become more valuable than oil. Neodymium, dysprosium, terbium, and lanthanum are critical for manufacturing Tesla batteries and other electric vehicles, military technologies, including targeting systems and stealth aircraft, as well as smartphones, computers, and medical equipment. Currently, China dominates the global supply of rare earth metals, controlling over 60% of the market. But Greenland has the potential to shift the balance of power. Beneath its icy surface lie some of the world's largest untapped reserves of rare earth elements, which could reduce Western dependence on China. In 2021, Greenland blocked a bid from the Chinese company, which sought access to the Kvanefjeld deposit, one of the world's richest sources of rare earth elements. In response, the U.S. and the EU have been developing plans to finance alternative mining projects to ensure a stable supply of these critical resources. Greenland sits atop vast oil and gas reserves. Estimates suggest up to 50 billion barrels of oil may be hidden beneath its surface. These potential riches have drawn interest from global energy giants. In 2009, Greenland was granted control over its natural resources, including oil, gas, and rare earth metals, under the Self-Government Act. However, while Greenland officially manages its resources, Denmark still exerts influence, especially through economic support and international agreements. In 2021, Greenland's government suspended new oil exploration licenses due to environmental concerns. However, with rising global oil and gas prices, this policy could change in the future. Beyond oil, Greenland also holds significant uranium reserves, a key resource for nuclear energy and weaponry. This makes the island strategically important for countries like the US, France, and China, which are all invested in securing nuclear fuel supplies. One thing is certain, the race for Greenland's resources is just beginning. You might ask, wait a minute, underneath Greenland's ice lie vast reserves of oil, uranium, and rare earth metals, a treasure trove for the high-tech era. The Chinese, Russians, and Americans all want a piece of it. And yet, nothing happens. Mining operations are at a standstill. Greenland still relies on subsidies from Denmark, and Denmark pretends not to be interested. Why doesn't Greenland extract its own riches, either alone or with Denmark's help? This is what I call the Greenland paradox, and there are 4 major reasons behind it. First, it's expensive, difficult, and risky. Extracting Greenland's resources is nothing like mining in a desert. The minerals are buried in some of the harshest environments on Earth, places where even polar bears rarely roam. Snow, ice, and violent storms dominate the landscape year-round. Infrastructure? There is none. Building roads, ports, and housing for workers would require billions of dollars in investment. The freezing and unpredictable climate could render any mine unprofitable. Imagine expensive equipment freezing solid for half the year. Second, who will do the mining? Greenland has a population of only 56,000 people. Most of them are fishermen and hunters with no mining experience. The solution? Import tens of thousands of workers from China, Europe, or elsewhere. But this would lead to cultural and social conflicts. Many Greenlanders oppose turning their island into an industrial colony where they would become a minority in their own land. Third, environmental concerns. Environmental activists warn that large-scale mining in Greenland would devastate its fragile Arctic ecosystem, disrupt local wildlife, and threaten the traditional way of life of the Inuit people. Because of these concerns, Greenland officially banned uranium mining in 2021, fearing radioactive contamination. This immediately shut down some of its most promising mining sites. The island's politicians remain divided. Some want economic growth, while others want to protect Greenland's pristine nature. Fourth, Denmark's financial leverage. Greenland receives approximately $500 million in annual subsidies from Denmark, covering 20% of its national budget. If Greenland were to start large-scale mining, it could theoretically stop relying on Danish aid. But no one knows if mining profits would be enough to replace these guaranteed stable funds. Denmark, for its part, has little interest in Greenland becoming wealthy and demanding full independence. For Copenhagen, paying subsidies is a small price to maintain control over this strategically important territory. As a result, Greenland remains a prized yet untapped treasure, caught in the power struggle between China, Russia, and the United States. But for now, it remains trapped in an icy prison, with its resources waiting to be unlocked. Denmark plays the role of guardian, maintaining a fragile balance to prevent a geopolitical fracture. Meanwhile, Greenlanders face a difficult choice: preserve their traditional way of life or take the risk of industrializing for immense wealth that may turn out to be a mirage. The ice is cracking under the weight of ambition. Every global power is preparing its next move. Tensions are rising with each passing second. This is more than just a game. It is a struggle for resources, influence, and the future. Who will be the first to break the delicate balance and make the decisive move? Time marches forward, bringing us closer to the moment of truth. The world watches, holding its breath. Global warming and the new trade route. Greenland is not only rich in rare earth metals and oil, it is also the key to a strategic trade route that could reshape the global economy. The melting Arctic ice has opened access to the Northwest Passage, a shipping route that connects Asia, Europe, and North America more efficiently than the Suez or Panama canals. This route reduces the distance between Asia and Europe by approximately 4,000 miles, compared to the traditional Suez Canal path. For trade giants like China, the US, and the EU, this means lower fuel costs, faster delivery times, and less dependence on geopolitically unstable routes. In 2021, the Arctic ice cover reached one of its lowest levels in history, and climate scientists predict that by 2050, the Arctic Ocean could be nearly ice-free in the summer. This means that, for the first time in human history, a new maritime trade route could emerge, competing with the Suez and Panama canals. The Northwest Passage runs through Canadian waters, but the United States does not recognize Canada's sovereignty over this route, considering it international waters. This has created a legal dispute, drawing the attention of other nations. As a result, the Northwest Passage is becoming a new focal point of geopolitical rivalry, though much of the world has yet to grasp its full strategic importance. Unlike open conflicts over oil or territorial waters, the race for the Arctic is happening behind the scenes, through investments, diplomatic pressure, and military presence. While some nations publicly advocate for Arctic environmental protection, others are expanding their military bases and icebreaker fleets. Greenland is set to play a pivotal role in this process. It could become a major logistical hub for ships crossing the Arctic. The Thule Air Base and other U.S. military installations on the island give Washington a strategic advantage in securing this route. If global warming continues, the Northwest Passage could become the primary trade corridor between the West and the East by the middle of the century. This would reshape global trade and shift the balance of power, turning Greenland and the Arctic into the center of a new global competition. The political question. Greenland is the world's largest island, spanning over 2.1 million square kilometers, 3 times the size of Texas. Imagine fitting 3 Frances and an Italy within its borders, yet its political status remains uncertain. Although Greenland formally belongs to Denmark, it enjoys broad autonomy and is increasingly considering full independence. However, such a step could be either a triumph of national self-governance or a geopolitical challenge that shifts the balance of power in the Arctic. Since 1979, Greenland has had autonomy, and in 2009, it gained even more self-governance, including control over its natural resources and domestic policy. However, Denmark still controls defense, foreign policy, and currency, Danish krone. Polls indicate that up to 70% of Greenland's population supports independence, but economic uncertainty remains a major concern. In 2019, U.S. President Donald Trump proposed purchasing Greenland for $2 billion, calling it a big deal. This offer was made to Denmark, which still formally oversees Greenland as an autonomous territory. However, Denmark flatly rejected the proposal, stating that Greenland is not for sale. This idea is not new. In 1946, the U.S. had already tried to buy Greenland for $100 million. Now that we've explored Greenland's strategic geography and natural wealth, let's break down the interests of China, the U.S., Frankfurt, and Russia in this Arctic competition. China's goals: resources and technological dominance. China currently controls over 60% of the world's rare earth metal market. If it gains control over Greenland's deposits, it would become a near monopoly in global supply chains. However, Denmark and the U.S. have been blocking Chinese investment deals in Greenland. China is also interested in Arctic shipping routes, which could dramatically shorten global trade times. China's advantages in the Arctic race are: financial power to invest in infrastructure projects, global initiatives like the Belt and Road Strategy, which includes Arctic trade routes, extensive experience in resource extraction in developing countries. China primarily uses economic pressure and diplomacy to gain influence, offering large investments in exchange for access to resources. It has also been actively constructing ports and infrastructure worldwide to expand its influence. Russia's goals: Arctic strategy and resource extraction. Russia sees Greenland as a strategic Arctic outpost. Unlike China, Russia's primary focus is hydrocarbons, oil and gas, and mineral extraction. Russia's advantages in the Arctic race are: extensive experience in extreme polar conditions due to numerous Arctic expeditions, geographic proximity to Greenland, enabling strong geopolitical influence, world's largest icebreaker fleet, 41 operational icebreakers, 34 diesel, 7 nuclear. This is more than the United States, Canada, Finland, Denmark, Sweden, and China combined. Russia uses military strength and strategic pressure, expanding Arctic military bases while actively participating in international negotiations over Arctic resource control. The U.S. goals: containing Russia and China. For the U.S., Greenland is a key piece in the geopolitical chess game against China and Russia. Control over Arctic trade routes and military presence in the region is a top priority. The U.S. advantages in the Arctic race are: long-term military presence on the island, including the Thule Air Base, Strong diplomatic influence through NATO and global alliances. The U.S. employs diplomatic pressure and military presence to maintain control over Greenland. It actively blocks Chinese and Russian initiatives and prevents the establishment of foreign military bases on the island. That is why, for China, the U.S., and Russia, Greenland is not just an icy island. It is a strategic battleground in the global race for resources, influence, and control over Arctic trade routes. The struggle for Greenland is just beginning, and its outcome could reshape the future of global power. Greenland is an icy stronghold that holds the future of global politics and economics within its depths. As its ice melts, great powers engage in a silent yet fierce struggle for control over this strategic region. Will Greenland gain independence, or will it become a bargaining chip in the game of superpowers? What do you think? Will the island take control of its own destiny, or will it remain in the shadows of global players? Share your thoughts in the comments.